This will start with the intro again, because it's still relevant. One of those entries in the flying text there was third eye. What could that be referring to? I tried to pick up in there how Yu's name was spelled, whether it was spelled with one hiragana or two, like whether it was Yu or Yau, and I didn't pick it up, so I don't know exactly how they spelled it in Japanese. So I still don't know whether or not and even if I did, I still wouldn't know whether or not they intended it for it when it is romanized to be spelled You to be intentional. Perhaps they made it intentional just as a joke, but with Achikoshi games, typically anything that seems like a joke isn't really a joke. He'll hide plot hints as jokes. So when you tells one of the two protagonists called the kid, I am you, I know it's kind of goofy, and the opening cutscene highlights that line. Like it has like a special like a line for each of the girls. It highlights that line as if that was her main quote. I am you, which is kind of lame, just in itself. Like this is just what my name is, unless what her name is has some sort of significance, and then that would mean it's somehow time travel body swappy nonsense. You is somehow the kid, which would be ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. So at the end of the last recording, I had a decision, which now that I thought about this a little more, I think I understand that was a protagonist choice. If I chose, I need to find my friends, I would get Takeshi as who I was playing as. And if I chose who am I would get the kid as who I was playing as. And as soon as you make that choice, the game goes the text goes from third person to first person, and whoever you chose, the text box goes from gray to blue. So I think most people probably would have picked Takeshi because Takeshi is at least somewhat of a character, like has some sort of personality to him. He's not in a fog. He's like, who am I? What's going on? It's not really that fun to play as someone who's like, who am I? What's going on? Um, but I ended up choosing the kid because it was like on his turn in the swapping back and forth of roles that was going on there. I don't think the swapping back and forth was really relevant in hindsight. I think it was just it happened to be on his turn when it gave you the choice because it had to end on somebody. So this is what I presume is the beginning of this game. I admit is very confusing, and I'm quite confused by it. My cord is fused, but this is what I'm guessing is going on. Um, the kid has gone through the course of the game already, like the entire plot of the entire game. Although we never actually see that plot. It's like implies like the first round through, kind of like in Ever17, how there's a first round through that we didn't, that's never portrayed, that's theoretically happened. And then he was sent back in time at the end to the beginning. And this isn't sending back in time like in Never 7, where he reoccupied his old body and he got the memories that his old body had, plus some fragments of additional ones from the future. Instead, he actually copied himself. So he was given a new body in the past, which physically makes no sense, but whatever, it's fiction. So he gets a new body in the past, and now there's two copies of him going through at the same time. But just like in Never 7, sometimes when you send somebody back in time, or maybe by choice they do this in Never 7, you'll retain all of your memories from just the process. In this case, he didn't even retain all of his memories from along to like even before he got to Lemieux. And it's all kind of scattered. So just for plot convenience. And so for plot convenience, he doesn't remember these things so that the player can slowly be revealed to them as the player just figures them out. So kind of like contrived amnesia. And why do I think that? Think this one is well, he doesn't remember anything. Two, he seems to think he's met people before that are in the game, even though there isn't really any reason to believe he's met them before. So it's like he maybe met them in the course of already in the future, and then he's gone back retaining some memories that he met these people, and some memories of what relationship he's built with these people along the way. And there's been hints that there's two of them. There's actually two hints that there's two of him. One is in his fever dream. He apparently like saw a second one of himself talking with Coco in the dream, which again, everything's a hint. And two, Takeshi talked with a character whose sprite looked like the kid. At least my brain can be glitchy and make mistakes like this, but at the time I thought the sprite was the kid, and I think it was labeled the name labeling that character was also the kid. But the kid didn't say something like the kid would say. He said, "Have you seen my friends?" and then described his friends to Takeshi. Like one of them had 3 ear piercings or something. Whereas when we're in the kid's mind, we see that he doesn't remember who his friends are, why he came to Lemieux, or even who he was waiting on in the resting area. So it's like there were the kids. They were not the same person. So there's 2 of the kid in the game, which usually how you make 2 of yourself is you time travel back. It's like that Orson Scott Card books, Pathfinder and Ruins. You make a copy of yourself. Anyway, so that's kind of why I think that he's traveled back in time has been copied. Now, I don't really know this. If I happen to be correct by chance, I just guessed it right. I never read anything about the actual plot of this game. If I'm wrong, well, then I don't have to defend anything, because obviously I don't know if I'm wrong, unless I'm like faking it for no reason. Or faking it, that's not fun. So, yeah. Of course, Takeshi's plot, he shows up at Lemieux with his friends. They split up because there's a capacity cut. He listens to the briefing with Coco. He goes into Lemieux to try to meet up with his friends, but of course, cell phones don't work in Lemieux, so it's kind of hard. He has to find them in person. They're looking for each other. He encounters somebody in the lemur costume, or the Mew Yoon costume, but that person appears to be Tsumugi. We haven't heard her name in the game yet, but her name is in the opening cutscene, so Um, um, Oops. Good. Her name's in the opening cutscene, so we kind of know who she is now. We know what her name is because of that. Inside the lemur costume, apparently trying to kind of do some secret disguise thing, do some sort of crime, maybe some sort of infiltration, some sort of scheme, where she's messing with the controls of Lemieux, because she's messing with the control panel. He happens to, because he couldn't find any staff members. Besides, he thought that whoever was dressed in a lemur costume might be a staff member. So he tries to talk to her and asks her to page someone on the intercom. And she had nothing to do with that. She probably didn't even know where the intercom was. She was in the business of doing her sabotaging. So she just punches him in the stomach and runs off. And then he encounters you, but you was like, "Oh, that's just the mascot." He's like, "But the mascot punched me in the stomach." Oh well, no. She's like ignored that, implying that maybe you was like in on the scheme or something. Um, so he chases. So then he goes and tries to chase down the lemur. But the person he finds in the lemur costume isn't Tsumugi. It's the kid, because Tsumugi stuffed the kid in the lemur costume in the changing room in order to ditch it in order to escape. And then he calls for somebody, and Yu shows up again, and Yu takes the kid off into the infirmary, which this reminds you a lot of Zero Escape Virtual Last Reward. All these like German names and rooms in the opening cutscene. Anyway, um, into the infirmary, and then he goes and jumps into an elevator. Happens to jump in the elevator with only one other person in it, which is rare in this game because usually the elevators are full. And that person is Tsumugi. Tsumugi's going in some weird direction in the elevator, and it gets dark in there. Alarms go off, it decompresses, and she all did it on purpose, and we don't know why. And then the kid's story is he's in the rest area eating ice cream, but the ice cream's already melted. He's supposed to be waiting for somebody, but he doesn't remember who he's supposed to be waiting for. Maybe it's because he intended to go back in time and wait for somebody in this room or something, but he forgotten because his memories dictate when you go back in time, whatever. Um, and then Yu shows up and is like, "Hey, what's going? What, do you need help?" And he's like, "I've been waiting for somebody." He's like, "Well, have they showed up?" "No, they'll probably won't show up. You've probably been stood up." Because for some reason, Yu is thinks of everything in terms of a relationship. And it could be that he actually was waiting for you, but he just forgot who he was waiting for, so he didn't know he would be waiting for you. Anyway, so Yu decides, well, I'll go take you on a tour of Lemieux, because for some reason, Yu just comes on people, or this kid's really handsome or something, I don't know. But this kid sees a character which, for the opening cutscene, we named his name Sora, coming out of the elevator, and runs after Sora because he thinks, I need to talk to this person for some reason. Maybe Sora was who he was waiting on, I don't know. But Sora disappears into an elevator. He loses Sora. He's already lost you. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't have anywhere in his scene him actually talking to Takeshi, even though Takeshi has talked with the kid. So then he gets stuffed in a lemur costume by Tsumugi. He gets heat exhaustion. He passes out. He then gets dragged into the infirmary by you. And we're at the point where he's waking up in the infirmary, and you just forced him to take Tylenols because for some reason that's the right thing to do. Okay. It does remind me though. I had a surgery recently. It was kind of a medium surgery. It wasn't that major. And before the surgery, the nurse told me, "Oh, we have these Tylenols for you." And he gave me two Tylenol pills, somewhat large and chalky pills, and some water. And you don't always really need to take these painkillers before the surgery. It's kind of this thing they do to try to be nice. It's kind of unnecessary. But I had never had a surgery before. So I was like, I don't know what it's going to feel like, so I'm just going to do it just in case. But yes, when you gives the kid two white pills, it's like, wow, there's something about two white pills that's really common. Anyway, I finally jump back into the game. Huh? She touched my face with the palm of her hand. The backs of her slender fingers stroked my cheek. Let's go with this. How do I get into this? Like, load, load. Yes, and by the way, I tend to not save scum my first round through. So I just kind of go and see where it takes me to get my first ending. And then to get more, like, obscure endings, and I have to save scum to try to do it. But I'm just gonna see where it like gets me at first. The smooth texture of her skin slipped down from my neck to above my chest, stopping there.
大丈夫。熱はないみたい。
That's alright, you don't seem to have a fever. Although I don't know if that's where you would check for a fever, but okay. She smiled at me. Somehow I felt all embarrassed. I pulled the bed cover up to my eyes and hid my face.
それじゃあそのまましばらく休んでて。
Just rest like that for a while, okay?
私、外の様子見てくるから。
I'll go see what's going on outside. Outside?
なんて説明すればいいのかな。
Yes, how do I put this? An alarm went off, right?
君が寝てる間に、ちょっとしたトラブルがあったみたいで。
While you were asleep, it seems that there was a bit of trouble.
まあ、そのことは後で説明するから。
Well, I'll explain it later.
今はとにかく、何も考えずにゆっくり休む。いい？
Anyway, for now, just rest and don't worry about anything, okay? Seeing me nod, she walked away from the bed. Hey, wait a second.
Huh?
What? I guess, is kind of this informal what in Japanese. I'm used to it being, nani? Just let me ask you one thing.
何？
Oh, there we go. So in Japanese, so a little more literal translation would just be what, and then here would just be like, what? Why am I here? I just told Kidat this is the Lemurian infirmary, right? Wait, who's Kidat? What?
君はね、ツバイトストックの売店でいきなり倒れちゃったの。
You passed out all of a sudden at the kiosk in Zweite Stock. Again, I don't know how to pronounce German words. That was just a guess.
それで私は通りがかりの男の人と君をこの救護室まで運んできて。
Then some guy and I hauled you here. Well, that's a lot shorter in English.
っていうか覚えてないの？あの時のこと。
You don't remember what happened? Kiosk at the kiosk. In front of a big window. A sweet, sweet smell. Something covering my body. The Lemur mascot.
お前だろう、俺を殴ったのは。
That's right, I remember. It like auto went to the next line there. And I was struck dizzy. Like something being stolen away, I lost consciousness and...
どう？思い出した？
Oh, so you do remember? Yes.
他に質問は？
Do you have any other questions? I shook my head and answered.
それじゃあ、いい子にして待っててね。
Well, big good boy, wait here, alright? Also of note, you didn't say, oh, weren't you that guy that I taught, like, why'd you run off for? Because he's the same kid that, you know, you tried to pick up in the rest area who was eating ice cream. And he just ran off on her. Anyway.
すぐ戻ってくるから。
I'll be right back. She patted my head gently and began walking for the door. While I turned my head to stare at her back, my name's Yoru. My last name is Tanaka. My real name is much longer, though. But it's such a pain. Just call me you. Well, we don't know the kid's name. Her real name is... Okay, we know for pretty much absolute certainty here that Yu's real name is going to be super important. So at some point in the game, we're going to encounter this really long name. And whatever the game says or does about whatever it says about this really long name we'll find, it's got to be Yu's real name. I remember her words. We don't know what the kid's name is, of course. That's hidden for another reason, too. So there could be a name revealed that's the kid's name that isn't revealed to be the kid's name until later. So this game is going to probably, I'm guessing, is going to be a closed cast, but contrivedly closed. What I mean by that is, so imagine Zero Escape, right? There's a certain group of 9 characters, at least in the first game, that are trapped in this situation. And the game very rarely would introduce another character. And if it does, it's a big twist, right? Or maybe something like Danganronpa, where you start with these 15 or 16 characters. The game has a tendency to not introduce a new character. It just sticks with those characters. And if another one is introduced, it's a big twist, and it's something you're not supposed to expect. Ever17 was a closed cast, but unlike, Danganronpa and Zero Escape, the cast wasn't confined by, the setting. Instead, there was other characters in the setting, but only so many, it was 6 characters, not including the protagonist, had sprites. And so any other characters were necessarily had to have a super minor role, and the cast never really interacted with anybody outside of its own sphere. So the geography wasn't containing it, but it still was closed in practice. In this game, there's a lot of other people in this really crowded theme park, but it's going to be contrivedly closed. The only characters we're going to see are the characters we saw in the opening cutscene that have sprites. So anybody who's the mastermind or fills a role of somebody that they need to discover who it is going to be one of those characters in the closed cast. They're not going to introduce a new one. So that's just kind of more of a generalization of the points I was previously making about names. You turned at the door and looked back at me, lifting her hand to wave, and left the infirmary. All alone inside the room, it was quite like time had stopped. I didn't know if the medicine had started to work or not, but my headache was completely gone. As I stared at the ceiling, I thought about the events leading to my being in that bed. Before I passed out, I get some kind of 999 style narration, except 999 would happen on the other DS screen. I had been walking around Lemieux with you. We had gone to a shop and were talking. Then we rode an egg-shaped elevator up 2 floors. Before I had met you, I had been in a small park. This isn't really a narration, it's just the way the dialogue kind of takes over the screen. It's kind of like 999 style. It's not like we have this extra narrator or anything. I was on a bench in that park. I was waiting for someone. Who? Who was I waiting for? I didn't know. Should I try taking... I know it's one of the people in the closed cast. So it's got to be Sora or Tsumugi or you or Coco or Takeshi. It's got to be one of those people. So it could have just been you, but that would have been boring. So maybe it was Sora. My memory was a fog, and thinking about events after that, my mind just seemed to cloud over. I shook my head several times, trying to clear it and concentrate. Why was I here? Why had I come to Lemieux? Did I come alone, or was I with someone else? What was I doing before I came to Lemieux? How had I arrived at the amusement park? So what's the last thing he remembers is just being at home and waking up one morning? It's no use. My memories have been stolen. There's nothing in there. There's nothing left. I can't remember. The thread of my memory was cut off right there. That time on the park bench enjoying ice cream, I couldn't get beyond that. It was like getting lost in a forest and trying to turn back, only to discover that everything had gone dark. It felt very strange. It felt just like I was in the middle of a dream. I felt like I had lost something. Something very important. But I didn't know what that something was. It's like, did I get a lobotomy? And not being able to move forward made me feel that it was specifically because I had lost something important. I felt an unpleasant sense of something lacking. and this sense of something not quite right irritated me. Yeah, this is what I understand is exactly how you feel if you've gotten a lobotomy, like something is missing, or you get like you get brain damage. It's like something is missing, and it's important, and you want to get it back, but it's just gone and you can't. It took my right hand out. I took my hand out from under the blanket and stared spacily at the palm of my hand. I'd never heard of space being turned into an adverb before, but I guess it can. The countless wrinkles etched there, intertwining, reaching out like the branches of a tree in complicated patterns. Like the timeline of this game. The pinkish skin, and buried deeper the slightly blue veins. And 5 fingers. Is that because there's 5? Is there 5 endings? 5 endings question mark? Had my hand always had this strange shape? Bizarre thoughts hit me from nowhere. Wait, what? Does he have a robotic arm? No, my right palm was no different than it had ever been. Okay, hint. Maybe robotic arms? Or wrong body? Yet for some reason I felt that I had to doubt even that most natural of facts. Maybe just possibly until a few hours ago, I might have had 6 fingers, or 7 or even 8. I felt like something was wrong. Could I have been feeling this way because I'd lost something special? I opened and closed my hand, just repeating that meaningless, simple exercise. It's called eagle claws. It's quite painful. I wandered in the forest, searching for that one lost finger. The door of the infirmary opened, and you returned. You dashed into the room and ran towards me as if she was going to bowl me over. What are you doing? This is no time to be sleeping. She shouted at me suddenly. Completely clueless, I simply laid there stunned. Get up quickly. You peeled away the blanket and dragged me off the bed. What's the matter? I don't know. I don't know, but anyway, we've got to escape out of here. You had a panicked expression. The relaxed look that had been in her face just a while ago had vanished completely. Escape to where? There's only one place. Floating island on the ocean. Why? Because Tsumugi sabotaged everything. Because I say, don't ask questions. We're escaping because we have to escape. There is something urgent and powerful in Yu's words. You dragged me along. From her powerful grip, I felt a sharp sense of crisis. I hurriedly slipped on my sneakers and fled out of the room with her. The instant we emerged into the sprawling corridor, my feet stopped. I sucked in my breath, my body froze, and I just stared at the light spreading before me. There was something missing. It was the people, of course. People, sound, warmth. No way, this can't be. So she missed an announcement when she was in the infirmary. Okay. The words I muttered were devoured by the eerie silence, but Tsumugi are stuck in here for some reason. Sora and Sora are also, for unknown reasons, stuck in here. I think I kind of know why Takeshi's stuck in here. I don't know why Coco would be stuck in here still. It just so happens that the characters you happen to encounter each other in the beginning of the game happen to be stuck in here together. Looking back and forth in the corridor, even in this furthest direction, there was no sign of people. Just the man-made walls on both sides. Well, this is how the cast closes, people. Unnatural light, whiter than white, shone from the ceiling and gave off a cold light. Why? Why isn't anyone here?
分かったでしょ
You get it now?
だから逃げなきゃいけないんだってば
That's why I have to escape. Everyone, where could everyone be?
かくれんぼでもしてると思う
Don't think they're playing hide and seek. That might be a typo.
とにかく今は考えてる暇ないの
Anyway, there's no time to think about it
一
now.
刻も早くここを出ないと
We need to get out of here ASAP, or... Saying that, you again tugged my arm. Hunched over and on the verge of tripping, I let you lead me through the wide corridors as we ran. Our footsteps were the only sound echoing in the quiet complex. The more we ran, the more out of breath I became. My heart was pounding. Really, everything just felt like a dream. A nightmare in which some unknown monster was chasing us everywhere. With no clue as to the identity of the monster, nor why we needed to escape. Hair-raising fear rose within me, and I was powerless to do anything. I simply cowered. In a world devoid of people, among faded colors, just used palms grasping my arms. Only the certainty of her touch, that one point of contact, allowed me to retain any connection with reality. A little bit dramatic for just being in an empty theme park that's about to, I don't know, flood. Finally, we arrived in front of the elevator. You rushed to the front of the door and pushed the up button. The button was unlit.
ちょっと冗談でしょ
No way. You gotta be kidding.
どうして止まっちゃってるわ
Why is this thing stopped? You struck the button repeatedly. But nothing happened. The light stayed off. There's no sign that the floor displayed above the elevator doors was functioning either. Hey, aren't there any emergency stairs or anything? You looked back and shifted her eyes around as if she were thinking.
ついてきて
Follow me. Saying only that, she dashed off. Straight down that long, stretching corridor. You turned her head to the left and right, looking for something. It looked like she soon found what she was looking for, and she headed towards it single-mindedly. A ladder. Next to it was written in straight red letters, "Emergency exit," with an arrow pointing upward. On the other end of the ladder was the ceiling and a sturdy-looking door with a round-shaped handle attached to it. Are there emergency stairs on the other side? Without answering, you started climbing the ladder. She turned the handle and opened the door.
さあ早く
Now hurry!
ここは緊急避難用の通路
This is an emergency escape corridor.
この通路の途中に非常階段がついてるの
There are emergency stairs that run along it. You told me this quickly while we ran. The corridor stretched in a gentle arc so that the far end was not visible. The scenery was repetitive, and I began to have delusions that I was running in place. Where in the world am I right now? How far do I have to run? I just had to trust in you and chase after a rack. Suddenly, you turned right. Inertia kept me going forward. Afraid I would miss the turn, I grabbed the corner with my hand, yanking myself around and chasing after you again. The route had become straight. Immediately to the left, a green-colored sign for emergency stairs was lit up. Below the light was a closed door. You jumped down the door's handle. This is stiff. This is so... You was desperately trying to turn the handle. It won't open?
絶対に開けてみせる
It'll open. It'll open for sure. I'll make it open.
だからほらポケット突っ立ってないで手伝ってよ
Well, don't just stand there. Get over here and help me. Spurred by her words, I firmly grabbed onto the handle. I tried with all my might to turn it in the direction of the arrow that said open. Damn. What's with this? It won't budge an inch. It was stuck fast, almost as if it had been welded shut. It didn't look like it would move to the right or left.
せー ーので回してみよう。
Well, try to turn it when I say ready, go.
いい？いくよ。
Okay, here we go.
せーの。
Ready, go. With that, I threw my complete weight onto the handle. Oh, damn. Should I scream open? No, right now that's actually not a good idea, so I'll just leave that behind. Just then it happened. A sound arose up as if from inside the earth, echoing heavily from somewhere. You and I relaxed our grips and looked at each other.
何なのよこの音。
What was that sound? The walls shook, and it's fading to black. Oh, it faded back in. A small vibration shook the handle we had grabbed. The lights on the ceiling flashed irregularly. The metal mesh floor was clanging against itself. An earthquake?
そんなわけないでしょ。
It couldn't be.
ここは
We're
海の中なんだから。
in the middle of the ocean, after all. The vibrations gradually increased in intensity. The squeaking sound of steel against steel shocked our ears. You can still have an earthquake in the middle of the ocean. It's just how it manifests itself, how you experience it is somewhat different. Because of course it's the liquid is different has different dampings. Wow, looking at this audio mix, it looks like the rumbling noise is pretty loud. I guess turning down the sound effects to minimum without turning them off doesn't really turn them down that much, does it? You and I held our breath, waiting still. We tried to focus, sharpening our senses, our eyes wandering the void. A low growling sound, like the groan of a monster approaching. A voice filled hate and rage turned to a howling roar, sending shivers up my spine. Where is that coming from? Huh? Where is it coming from? What? Yu's voice approached a scream. Her face lost all color and her lips went dry. The eyes behind her silky, swaying bangs looked as if they were about to cry. Silky, swaying bangs? Wind. It's wind. Muttering this, I looked in the direction of the wind. Down the extremely long corridor. Something appeared pushing and vying for space.
そう。
No way.
そうでしょ。
You're kidding.
まさか。
It couldn't be.
水？
Water. Very Zero Escape-like here, if you remember the very beginning of 999. A monster came crashing toward us at terrifying speed, mixed in a roiling spray of water. You're about to get smashed through the door, aren't you? There was no doubt. It was a rushing behemoth of water. Well, checked off one scene from the opening cutscene. A massive froth of waves. Ah! It was not the time to be shouting. You and I started sprinting desperately. Where, though? We turned left at the corridor and ran. So it didn't come at you, it came out from the other side of the door? Okay. I mean, I thought you were pinned up against the door. We ran and ran. The voice of the monster is right on our heels. I don't think realistically you could actually outrun this. But we couldn't look back. I never really tried it though, so I wouldn't know. If we looked back, we felt like we would be swallowed up. Something beyond fear or terror had made our minds go completely blank. We couldn't even think. Could only run desperately for our lives. My shoulder bumped against the wall of a narrow corridor. It looked like my foot would get caught up in the bent metal flooring. Avoiding the pipes that hung down, we leaped over the raised entrance of the watertight door and ran. We just ran on and on. This had got to be a dream. For an instant, that thought cut across my mind. In a world without people and faded colors, a drooling monster is reaching its bluish-white arms out towards my neck. We were spit out with the mass of water into a sprawling room. We were turned head over heels in the violent water. I've had that happen to me while surfing. The name, we have an expression for that. It's called getting washing machined. Several times, maybe several dozen times, over and over again. Until finally my body stopped moving. Ouch. Ouch. I peeled my body from the soaked floor. Water was still pouring in from the far side of the open emergency entrance. Water was flowing down like a waterfall and spreading smoothly across the far corridor as if it were crawling across the floor. That's right. What about you? What about you? How's it going for you? Just as I thought that and looked back, you were standing up. You okay? I shook the soaked Yu's shoulders and looked into her eyes. They were empty. Her purplish blue lips were quivering. Yu was completely dazed. You, hang on. The level of water had continued to rise during the short time. What should I do? What should I do? Just then it happened. The watertight door at the four sides of the room began to close at once. Okay. The doors are closing? Ever so slowly letting out a dull sound. You. I tried shouting and even shaking her harder, but there was no response. Rather, Yu's body went limp and she collapsed on the floor. Hey, quit goofing around, come on! I lifted Yu's arm and put it over my shoulder, lifting her up. I started walking towards the nearest watertight door. Yu was heavy like a stone. Water poured around both my legs and I couldn't move forward as fast as I wanted. Gradually, a steel partition slid down from above. Another one came up from below, pushing away water as it moved. The stopped-up water swirled around. As the width between the doors narrowed, the water level increased. Come on, make it in time. Please just make it in time. Sadly, the door didn't stop moving. There was only a small opening left for us to escape. Whoa! There's no way I'm going to die here. Giving a shout, I ran, pushing the water out of the way. Yu's slumping body weighed heavily on my shoulder, but I couldn't let go of her arm. I pulled together all my power. Almost there. Almost right there. Thwomp. With one hand, I grabbed hold of the edge of the... Just barely. Just a few seconds after I had squeezed our bodies through that narrow gap, the watertight door closed completely. We placed our backs against the closed door and collapsed. There was almost no sense of relief. Both of my legs were shaking and my heart was beating like it would explode. We spent a few moments there in a stupor. The next thing I knew, the seawater had mostly disappeared from the floor. That's not to say that it was completely dry, it was still wet. And my body and Yu's body. So you don't say achu, you say a hackshaw in Japanese. We were still soaked. Are you alright?
何が
Huh? What? You were really out of it until just a second ago.
誰が
Who was? You were.
私が
Me, I was. You stood up and took her wet hair in hand, wiping away the water droplets around her eyes with the palm of her hand.
そうだ
Oh, that's right.
私たち水に巻き込まれて
The water carried us away.
巻き込まれて巻き込まれて巻き込まれて
Carried and carried and carried us away.
でどうしたんだっけ
And what happened? We got swept into the next corridor over. And then all of a sudden, the watertight doors started to close. But you were all spacey. And to make things worse, you fainted.
じゃあどうして助かったの？
So, did we get out? I got us out.
君が
You? Yup.
本当に？
Really? What, you don't believe me?
だって
But
君ってほら助けるよりも助けられる方が似合いそうなタイプじゃない？
well, you seem more like the type that needs help rather than dishes help out. What? What's that supposed to mean? I'm the protagonist of this game.
あ、そうそう冗談冗談。
Oh, that's a joke. I'm just kidding.
本当に助けてくれたんだったらお礼言わなきゃね。
If you really did save us, I suppose I should thank you.
ありがとうございました。
Thank you. You bowed her head slightly. Do you really mean it?
思ってるよ。多分。
Of course, I guess. Although it's I would never really dream of insisting someone mean thank you. You guess?
だから冗談だってば。
I said I was joking.
すぐ真に受けちゃうんだから。この純情少年め。
You take everything so seriously. You're just such an innocent youngin. Oh, whatever. Well, I suppose I owed you one anyway.
仮？
Owe me? When I collapsed at the shop, you helped me, right? So now we're even. When I said that, Yu's face lit up a little. Anyway, enough of that. Let's hurry up and find an exit.
そうだね。
Yeah.
またどこで浸水が始まるかわかんないし。
You never know when there might be another flooding. Yu was checking the ceiling and walls as she started talking. I followed along behind her. Cut across the wide room heading for the exit. There's a big empty mechanical merry-go-round. Sound music or the voices of children playing. I wonder if you turn the background music on, whether or not the music stops when that line occurs. I wouldn't know, though. Only its bright lights glowed in a lonely sort of way.
ねえ、
Hey! Oh, we're gonna get one of these scenes.
そういえばまだ名前聞いてなかったよね。
That reminds me. I haven't even asked you your name yet. Huh?
名前。君の名前。
So namae is name, I guess. Name. Your name. Oh, yeah. That. My name is... And... I didn't know. I didn't know my name. My name? There's no way. It couldn't be. I should know it. So he didn't just not remember the name, the events coming up to when he was in Lemieux. He didn't even remember his name, which is something it's a very weird selective amnesia. It's my name, my very own name. My name. Then all of a sudden, a shock shot through my whole body. Ugh.
どうしたの？
What's the matter? My head hurt. It seemed like it would split right open. I held my head in both arms and crumbled forward.
大丈夫？
Are you alright? Grinding my teeth, I desperately tried to endure the pain. Darkness blanketed my eyes. I couldn't see anything, I couldn't hear anything. The darkness invaded my brain and glommed together. It was a glob that would devour my brain and dissolve it into mush.
ねえ、しっかりしてよ。ねえ。
Hey, hang in there. Hey. I didn't know. I didn't know my name. Who could I possibly be? The next thing I knew, I was on a bed. The ceiling was so white that I was slightly blind. It was slightly blinding. It smelled of disinfectant.
気がついた？
Are you awake now? A shadow passed above me on the bed. You? You looked at me as if she were worried. This is
おかげさまでまた振り出しよ。
back to the beginning, thanks to you. Except, I don't think it's actually back to the beginning. The beginning? The infirmary, huh? But don't discount that that could have happened.
ねえ、今度から倒れるときにはこの部屋の近くにしてくれない？
Hey, next time you decide to go and keel over, can you do it in somewhere a little closer to this room?
大変だったんだからね。君を背負ってここまで来るの。
It was really a pain hauling you piggyback all the way here. Sorry.
あ、別
You
に
why
謝らなくてもいいんだけどさ。
why do you have to haul him here, though? Oh, it's alright, you don't have to apologize.
ところで、
By the way,
思い出した？名前。
did you remember your name? Name. That's right, my name.
ちょっと待っ
Oh, hold on a sec.
て。無理に思い出そうとしなくていいから。
You don't have to try to force yourself to remember. Oddly nonchalant about the idea of not remembering your name. I'd be like, what are you talking about, you doofus? I would not believe somebody did not remember their name. I think they're messing with me.
またさっきみたいになっちゃうとあれだしね。
If you don't remember your name, do you at least remember one of your social media, like screen names? What's your Twitter handle? I don't want you getting like you did before, alright? You said it very carefully.
これからいくつか質問するけど、
I'm gonna ask you a couple questions.
とにかく落ち着いて体を楽にして答えてほしいの。
So just calm down. I want you to relax and answer them.
いい？
Alright? Sure. I just noticed there hasn't been any decisions since the beginning, since I chose to play as the kid.
まず今日の日付はわかるかな？
First, do you know today's date? Today is the 1st. May 1st, right? So today is May 1st. So I know that Never 7 started on the 1st of a year. Was it May? Was it June? I don't remember. I know it was on a 1st though.
日付は覚えてるんだ。
You remember the date.
じゃあ君の年齢は？
So how about your age? Age?
生年月日でもいいんだけど。
Your birthday will do, either way. I tried hard to pull together the threads of my memory. My age, my birthday. When I started to think about it, my temples began to throb.
ほら深く考えないの。
Hey, no straining yourself.
思い出せないなら思い出せないってそう言ってくれればいいだけだから。
If you can't remember, then you can't remember. Just say so. But that didn't mean I could just stop thinking about it. I endured the headache as I felt like I wandered lost through a forest. There had to be an exit hidden somewhere. I just didn't know where.
オーケー、わかった。
Okay, I got it.
君は自分の名前も年齢も生年月日も覚えてないのね。
You don't remember your name, age, or birthday, right?
住所や電話番号はどう？
How about your address or telephone number?
じゃなかったら家族のこととか友達のこととか何でもいいんだけど。
If not those, then how about your family, friends, or anything?
やっぱり思い出せない？
So you can't remember. It was just like you said. I didn't have any memories of anything. A sense of something not being right gnawed at my mind. Well, you know how to speak Japanese, so you remember something. You know, you remember that you're supposed to do your business on a toilet and, you know, No, it was something closer to a sense of loss. I mean, you probably could do some simple arithmetic too, right? I felt that I had lost the bulk of my existence. Like someone had stolen me away. And the me that was left was just an empty shell. It's like you has done it because she is you. The me that was here, who knew if it was even the real me? The instant that thought went through my mind, I was frozen by an icy wave of unease. Scared, isolated, lonely. You? I grabbed firmly on Yu's hand. Her warm palm. That warmth was the only thing saving me.
もう大丈夫だよ。
It's alright now.
男の子なんだから、そんな泣きそうな顔しないの。
What are you, a baby? Stop with that sad face. She shot me a smile as she squeezed my hand back.
記憶喪失ってそんなに珍しいことじゃないと思うよ。
I don't think that amnesia is all that uncommon. I mean, especially in this genre. Amnesia?
記憶がないんだから記憶喪失でしょ。当たり前だけど。
You don't have any memory, so that's memory loss or amnesia, right? Of course it is.
原因はなんだろうな。
I wonder what caused it.
気圧障害の関係か、どこかで頭を打っちゃったのか、
The air pressure changed, or maybe you hit your head somewhere.
それとも何か精神的な強いショックを受けたのかもしれない。
Some severe mental shock, maybe.
例えば過激なアトラクションに乗って頭がパニクっちゃったとかさ。
Like riding a crazy ride and maybe you panicked or something.
でも心配しないで。
Don't worry. It's like you think you could get amnesia, like not remember your name, your birth date, or your family or friends because you got too scared on a theme park ride.
きっと一時的なものだからすぐに記憶は戻るはず。
It's probably just temporary. It'll come back. Yeah, usually it does in this genre. As the plot progresses. Think so?
そうだよ。
For sure.
大事故にでもあって脳に致命的な損傷を受けたとかだったら別だけどね。
Of course, if you were in a major accident and had severe severe trauma to the brain, that would be a whole different thing.
どうもそんな感じでもなさそうだし。
That doesn't seem to be the case. You put her hand on my hair and gave me a smile so bright I almost needed sunglasses. That smile fled into my heart, wiping away the remains of the unease that was swirling there.
さあ、そろそろ行こうか。
So, do you want to get going?
このまま子守歌でも歌って君を寝かしつけてあげてもいいんだけど、
I could sing you a lullaby and tuck you in, but
残念ながらそんなのんびりとしてられる状況じゃないのよね。
fortunately we don't have time to relax.
わかるでしょ。
You understand, right? I nodded and got off the bed. You started walking for the door. My eyes stopped at the bluish ribbon on Yu's back. The ribbon seemed to have taken on water and glittered brightly, like the wings of a newborn fairy.
ダメ、開かないみたい。
It's no good, it doesn't seem to open. She said that after trying to move the door with her weight several times. These were the emergency stairs. More accurately, it was the passage on the way there. The emergency stairs would spiral like around a fat pipe. If we followed these stairs, they would take us to the floating island, at least in theory. But now, right in front of us stood a thick steel wall. The wall had a small watertight door, and if we couldn't squeeze through that, then we couldn't make our way any higher. Might be because the layer above them is actually filled with water. This isn't the floating island yet, is it?
当たり前でしょ。
It's pretty obvious, isn't it?
それどころかエルストボーデンだってまだまだ先なんだから。
Not even. I mean, we haven't even hit Erstboden. So we've still got a long way to go. Erstboden, was that the basement floor one? You nodded. What does that mean in terms of depth? How deep is it?
そうね。ツバイトストックが34メートルだから。
Let's see. Zweite Stock is 102 feet deep, so
30メートル前後ってとこかな。
around 90 feet, give or take, I guess.
まだ4、5メートルくらいしか登ってきてないもん、この階段。
That is pretty deep. If you exit at 90 feet, your ears will feel terrible. And your eyes. We've only climbed around 12 or 15 feet on these stairs. 90 feet deep. 90 feet sounded so close, but in any event, if the door didn't open up, then that was all. That was it. Hey, I wonder why it won't open.
さあね。
Who knows? My suspicion is that the floor above is filled with water.
呪文でも必要なんじゃない？
Maybe there's a secret spell or something. Or Tsumugi rigged it that way, but it's probably because it's filled with water. Spell, you mean like open sesame? That kind of spell? I think I learned recently that came from Mario, didn't it? Open says Ami. And then it kind of got blurred into Open Sesame, just like LMNO got blurred into LMNO.
またそうやって真に受ける。
There you go, taking me seriously. Well, what then?
教えてほしい？
You really want to know? Yeah.
聞かない方がいいかもよ。
You better not ask. Huh?
どうするの？聞くの？聞かないの？どっち？
So, what are you going to do? Do you want to hear it or not? Which is it? Yes. Ask.
オーケー。なら教えてあげよう。
Right then, I'll tell you.
さっき君はいきなり水密費が閉まり始めたってそう言ったよね。
You just were talking about how the watertight doors started closing all of a sudden, right? Yeah.
つまりあの扉は自動閉鎖されたんだ。
That means the doors closed automatically. Closed automatically?
浸水を感知したレミが危険なエリアの水密費を自動的に閉めちゃったってこと。
Lemurian detected flooding and automatically shut the doors in the areas that were in danger. What's Lemurian?
このレミュー内のすべての電子的システムを統括管理しているメインコンピューター、その略称みたいなもんね。
That's what we call the main computer that supervises and manages all the electronic systems in Lemme. Yeah, I just learned it's Lemme, not Lemu from that voice acting. So what?
だからね、きっとこれも。
So what? Probably this. Clang, clang, you knocked on the steel door with your lightly closed fist. Did you?
これもレミに閉められちゃったんだと思うの。
This was probably closed by Lemmy as well. I see. So in other words, the other side of this door is flooded with water.
多分。
Probably. She had been right. It really wasn't something I had wanted to hear. If the door were yes, you would. You're like, oh, would you not know you were gonna? Would you not want to know that you were gonna die before you were gonna die? If the door were simply locked, all we had to do was find a way to open it, and we could climb up to freedom. But if the other side was full of seawater, then thinking beyond that was no fun. So what do we do now?
他の非常階段を片っ端から調べてみる。
So we check out the other emergency stairs.
それしかないでしょ。
That's all we can do, right? You said it with a sigh and started heading down the stairs. After that, we tried 2 emergency sets of stairs in the area, but both were a waste of effort. They were shut off by thick partitions. It was impossible to climb up to Zweite Stock. According to Kinder, there's a total of 12 emergency stairs in Lemay. 3 of those were closed off, so that left 9. You and I walked around emergency corridors searching for those 9, but we met with a dead end. And a dead end. And a dead end. The watertight doors were completely shut, and there was no way we were getting them open manually. We gave up and headed out into the normal corridors to see if we could work our way around using them. And still, we met with a dead end. And a dead end. And a dead end. Inside the sprawling Lemurian complex, there was a web of several dozen corridors. We investigated each, only finding closed doors everywhere. It seemed hopeless. But the normal corridors and the emergency corridors were sealed. All were blocked off. The only thing left for us to try was...
ドリットストック。
Dritte Stock.
下のフロアに降りてみるしかなさそうね。
It looks like the only thing left is to go down a floor. And that might work. You go down a floor, you go across, you go up, and then you might find a place where you can go up, right? With the elevators out of action, the emergency stairs were our only choice. Thankfully, 1/3 of the remaining 3 stairways were still operating. Which meant that even if there was no going up, we could still go down. You and I wound around and around the spiral stairwell until we reached Dritte Stock, 3 floors underwater. Water. I noticed this without thinking when we reached the floor. As far as I could see, the floor was a sheet of water that had flooded in. It was about up to my ankles. There's water flooding in from somewhere else.
違うと思う。
No, I don't think so.
水が流れてないでしょ？
The water's not moving, is it? This is the water that got in before Lemurian closed all the watertight doors. So it's kind of like the collection at the bottom. Just like the pooling at the bottom, okay? Now that she mentioned it, there was not even a ripple in the water's surface. There was no evidence that the water level was increasing. I looked around to be sure, but there weren't any signs that water was leaking from anywhere. Well, then what is this?
さっきの私たちが巻き込まれた浸水のせいよ。
This must be from the water that washed us away earlier.
スバイトストックに溜まった海水がこのフロアに流れ込んだんじゃないかな。
I figured the seawater that pooled in Zweite Stock flowed down here.
非常階段とか通気口とか、とにかくどこかの経路をたどってここまで流れ落ちてきたんだと思う。
Maybe via the emergency stairs or a vent or I don't know how, but somehow it flowed down here.
ほら、昔から言うでしょ？
Hey, do you remember that saying, water runs downhill?
水は高きから低きへって。
Yeah, that. We entered the room from a floor along the corridor. The room's massive ancient remains were steeped in water, making it seem like the seafloor had risen up. As you and I watched around the wide room, our legs splashed water all over. Our drenched clothes were drying, so we didn't really feel the cold. The water on the floor was not as cold as I'd expected, but somehow walking in the water in shoes was, well, unpleasant. Finally, we turned a corridor and heard an unexpected sound. Bam, 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 bam.
ねえ、今なんか聞こえなかった？
Hey, did you hear something just now? We stopped and listened. Somebody was hitting something. Somewhere nearby. So is Takemi going to come back into the story? There are other people here.
取り残された人がいるんだ。
The people that were left behind. Finally, it's been exposited, right? This game doesn't really have like a... Usually these Japanese things have like an exposition they have right at the beginning of the game that introduces you the scenario. Finally, the game has introduced a scenario. It's taken quite a bit, but finally we've got here. Now I can kind of like understand it, kind of grasp it.
おーい、誰か！
Hey, somebody!
誰か！
Somebody.
誰かいませんか？
Is there anybody there?
いませんか？
Anybody? 2 girls' voices could be heard from within the elevator. You and I looked at each other and nodded.
ちょっと待ってて！
Hold on just a little longer.
今、開けてあげるからね！
We're gonna open the door for you.
うわー、よかった。
All right, oh good.
このまま誰も来てくれないのかと思って心配してたんです。
I was so worried that no one would come. The voice from inside sounded well. It didn't sound injured or weak.
って言ってもどうやって開ければいいんだろう。
Still, how are we going to open this? You push both of her hands on the door and push left and right.
もうなんで今日はこんな目にばっか会うのよ。
How do we keep running into problems like these? Won't it open?
そんなの見ればわかるでしょ。ほらちょっと変わってってば。
If you were paying attention, you'd be able to tell. You give it a try. I switched places with you and reached out to try to open the door. Oomph. It didn't budge.
ほらほらもっと気合い入れて。
Come on, put some power into it. I tried to put my fingers in the crack in the door, but my fingernails just barely squeezed in and there was nothing happening there. Ow. Blood started oozing from the nail of my index finger. But it was the digit next to that that caught my eye. The thumb of my left hand. Hey. I noticed a distinct mark on it. On the meaty part of the thumb was a deep scar about a half-inch long. Half-inch long scar on the meaty part of left thumb. It's going to be relevant. I wonder if I had had it for long. The mouth of the cut was swollen and milky white colored. Oh. Robotic arm again.
大丈夫？
Are you alright? Her question brought me back to reality.
血が出てるじゃない。ちょっと貸して。
Oh my, you're bleeding. Let me see. You grabbed my left hand. I suddenly bent my thumb under, hiding the scar. For some reason, I didn't want her to see it. You took an adhesive bandage from her pocket and put it on the bloody finger.
まったく世話の焼ける子ね。
I swear you need so much looking after. Thanks. My finger smelled faintly sweet.
まだ開きませんか？
But the door still won't open.
それからもっと世話の焼ける子がもう一人。
It seems there is someone that needs even more looking after than you do. What should we do?
そうだ。
Oh, that's right, you muttered. She searched around in her pocket for something, and she took out
チュ
a...
ワーチュワチュワーチュワチョチョチョピーン。
I guess we translate that to drum roll, please.
サインペン。
Marker. It was just a felt tip pen. Cue our markers pins.
これをね、こうしてね、こうしてね、グリグリっとグリグリっとすれば。
See this? You take it like this, then do this around and around and around. A gap appeared.
ほらね。
See? Basically, she screwed it in. I jabbed my finger into open space gap. I believe that's a typo. And started forcing the door open. The box inside, the part where people ride, was stuck right before arriving at Dritte Stock. Above the door, jutting out some 20 inches or so, was the lower bit of the elevator box. It was at the height where, if I stretched my hand out completely, it would just reach. So basically, it's actually, the elevator box is underneath. Okay. If we could get the box open, then it seemed possible to pull the people trapped inside over to our side.
肩車。
Shoulder ride. Use one word said it all. As she implied, I stood in front of her and spread my legs, bracing myself.
こら、どうして私が持ち上げなきゃなんないのよ。
Hey, why do I have to lift you up? Huh?
逆よ逆。
I meant the opposite way around.
こういう時は普通力のある方が下になるでしょ。
In this type of situation, it's the stronger person that is on the bottom, right? I went around behind you, wordlessly squatting down. You was wearing a skirt, after all. One reason I tried to be on top was I thought I would save her the embarrassment. As I was thinking that, you straddled my head with her legs. I put both my hands on my knees, supporting myself, and stood up all at once. Her soft thighs hugged against my head. She was flushed against the back of my neck. It was a bit nice.
待ってて、もうすぐだから。
Wait, hold on, we're almost there.
お願いします。
Please help. You took the marker and started prying it in between the doors again. She stuck her finger in the gap, and then opened the door with a flourish. Oh, I guess I wasn't really understanding its geometry. I guess the box was above them, actually. And it was just kind of sticking down into the area subtended by the outer doors a little bit. So I guess kind of had to reach up to open it. Okay.
チース。
Wow. With you on my shoulders, I looked up. A girl in a uniform was peeking down.
あ、
Oh. Ah. Ah. I don't know why, but all three of us exclaimed at once. Just then I felt something like an electric shock run through me. Severe lights went off in my mind and I heard the sound of something snapping. I was suddenly dizzy. I lost my sense of balance and swayed forward and back. My vision and consciousness were overrun by white. I couldn't take any more. Kya! I fell to the floor like a marionette with its strings snipped.
痛いなあ。もう。
Ouch, jeez.
なんで倒れちゃうのよ。危ないでしょ。
Why'd you fall like that? You could have hurt someone.
たく、だらしないな、近頃の若いもんは。
Jeez, lazy kids these days are so lazy. Violent memory jogging, I suppose. Things began to fall back into focus. I was lying on my back looking at the ceiling. Lights were shining down brightly. The girls were pointing at me and laughing. Their innocent faces were enveloped in celestial-like light. Just like a couple of angels staring down from heaven.
ねえ、大丈夫？
Hey, are you alright? I didn't know why. It was a bizarre sense of something like deja vu that came welling up in my mind. Yep. I felt like I had seen this all before. Probably because you have. The angelic smiling faces somehow made me feel nostalgic. Like it was a fragment of some familiar everyday scenery. I couldn't explain it, but somehow I had that vague sense about things.
あれ、なんで床が水浸しなの？水道管でも破裂したとか？
Hey, why is the floor all wet? Did a water pipe burst? Oh, they didn't know because they've been stuck in the elevator. As I was about to answer, the girl cut me
っ
off.
ていうか、そんなことよりも。
What's so important is, but that's so important as
こんなとこで何やってんですか？ナック先輩。
just what are you doing here, Nakyu? So her name is Nakyu instead of you? The girl said this as she descended from the elevator, patting her clothes back into place.
それはこっちのセリフだってば。
You should be asking Kidat.
マヨはなんでこんなとこにいるのよ。
Supposed to be a pun like you should be asking me that? Mayo, what are you doing here? Mayo, the girl's name was Mayo?
なんでって、この制服見ればわかるでしょ。
Huh? What do you... That's weird. What do you mean? If you take a look at my outfit, you'd know.
修学旅行？
You're on a school trip?
それは3年になってからじゃないですか。
That's for seniors.
あ、そっか。 マヨはまだ2年だもんね。
Alright, Mayo, you're still a junior, right?
はい。
Right.
じゃあどうして？
So what then?
先輩、覚えてないんですか？
Have you forgotten everything about your old high school already?
え？
Huh?
特使ですよ。特使。
Volunteer activities.
救命館では2年生になるとボランティアの旅に行くことになってるじゃないですか。
At Kumyikan, juniors are supposed to go out and volunteer somewhere, right?
ナッキュ先輩だって今年卒業したばっかりなんだから知ってるでしょ？
Nakyu, you just graduated this year, so you gotta remember, right?
ああ、特使ね。
Was that just spelled with two Ks while previously it was only spelled with one K? Oh, that's right, the volunteer program.
特使貢献奉仕派遣
Civil Service Volunteer Program.
とは名ばかりで、実際にはただの協力的な集団旅行プロジェクトに過ぎなかったりする。
Civil service probably does not translate literally. If I were to guess. Well, that was the official name, but it was really just a glorified field trip.
どうせまたあれでしょ？
Still the same old deal, I bet.
建前はレミューで働くお姉さんたちのお手伝いをしましょうみたいなさ。
Girls go help out at Lemurian for a day or something stupid like that.
ズバリそのまんまですよ。
You got it.
私の時はユナイテッドランドだったけど、レミューに変わったんだ。
When I was there, I went to United Land, but I guess they changed it to Lemur, huh?
先輩、見かけませんでした？他の生徒。
Senpai, you didn't see any other students, did you, Nakyu?
救命館の2年はみんなここに来てるんですよ。
Whole Kumikan junior class should be here.
見かけなかったけどな。
No, I didn't see anyone. While the two of them were talking, I decided to take a peek at the elevator that Mayo was stuck in. I grabbed onto the entrance of the box and used my at momentum to pull myself up. It was empty inside. I thought I heard two girls inside. Split personality! I wonder if my mind was playing tricks on me. I let go of the elevator and dropped to the floor.
何やってんの？
Hey, what are you doing? You asked me this when I returned to the ground. Yes, ask you. Well, before, didn't you hear two voices?
二人？
Two? You shot the question right back at me and then looked back at Mayo.
私一人だけでしたよ。
No, it's just me.
他には誰も。
Nobody else. So you killed the other person, right? No. I see. I guess it was just my mind playing tricks on me. Mayo would glance at me from time to time, but when our eyes met, she would look away.
ナッキュ先輩、この人は？
Thank you, senpai. Who's this?
ああ、この少年。
Huh? Oh, this guy?
彼はただのお客さん。
He's just a visitor.
さっき会ったばっかりなんだけど、まあいろいろあってね。
We just met a while ago, but you know, a lot has happened since then.
どうも、はじめまして。
Nice to meet you. There was something a little off about Mayo's reading.
で、こっちがマヨ。
And this is Mayo.
高校の時の後輩なの。
She goes to our old high school. Nice to meet you, too. Nice to meet you, too. But then again, my words were pretty stiff as well.
本当はね、松永サラって言うんだけど。
There we go, but her real name is Sora Matsunaga. Sara? So why Mayo?
松永サラ、
Matsunaga Sara.
ツナサラ。
Tuna Sara.
ツナサラダといえば？
Like tuna salad is loaded with
マヨネーズ。なんだって、ナッキュ先輩にとっては。
mayonnaise, at least for Nakyu it is. Okay, so that's a English crossing with Japanese pun again, because be it pronounced tuna salad, you're now going for English words. Unless they did that in the localization. I see. Oh, or unless they completely changed the nickname in the localization, they might have done that. I said that, but I didn't really get it. I had the feeling that simple salad dressing was better suited to tuna salad. Well, have you ever heard of Miracle Whip? Well, whatever. Okay. It wasn't important.
ところで、名前は？
By the way, your name is? Name.
うん。君の名前。
Yeah, your name. My name is... Oh, this again.
思い出せないんだってさ。
He says he can't remember.
は？
What?
記憶喪失なの、彼。
Amnesia. That's what.
記憶喪失？
Amnesia?
そうなの？
Really? Yes.
へえ、すごいじゃん。
Oh, wow, cool. Wow.
なんかちょっとかっこよくない？記憶喪失って。
I mean, that's kind of cool, like, isn't it? I mean, like, amnesia? Yeah, unless you actually get it and you realize how uncool it is.
影のある男的な匂いがするもん。
It sounds kind of like an international man of mystery kind of thing.
ほら、例えばさ、闇の組織に追われてる暗殺者みたいな。
Like maybe you could be being hunted by an underground organization or assassins or something. But if that, I guess that's the plot. You gotta take it all seriously. Assassins? I wouldn't kill anybody.
だから真に受けんなっつーの。
I keep trying to tell you not to take things so seriously. But this is an Uchikoshi game, though. You take it all seriously.
記憶喪失か。
Amnesia.
本当にあるんだね、そういうの。
You really do have it? That amnesia thing? Sora kept staring at me as if I were something exotic. Like I were an angel. Replete with a set of wings onto my back. I think that's not how you spell replete. I thought it was R-E-P-L-E-A-T. Although, usually it's hard to remember how to spell obscure words. The divine and nostalgic feeling from before had vanished like an illusion. I gotta check it out. I gotta check the spelling of replete now. Replete. Nope, they spelled it right. Okay. I'm wrong, they're right. Let's continue. The divine and nostalgic feeling from before had vanished like an illusion. If you didn't know this already, I actually really bad at spelling English. Then who is good at spelling English? The three of us aimed for an exit. It goes without saying, but Sara couldn't hide her surprise at the transformation the complex had undergone.
何これ？
What's this?
なんでどこもかしこも水浸しなの？
Why is the whole place flooded?
それどころか、誰もいないみたいだけど。
There doesn't seem to be anyone around. While we walked, you brought Sara up to speed with the situation while walking next to her. She told her that you herself was working at a mill, how I had collapsed in by the kiosk, how after falling down I was hauled to the infirmary. After finishing the story, you went on.
そしたらね、突然警報が鳴り響いて。
And then, suddenly the alarm started ringing. Alarm?
あれ？まだ君には話してなかったっけ？
What, I didn't tell you about this yet?
君が意識を失ってる間に緊急避難警報みたいなやつがアナウンスされたのね。
While you were out, they ran the emergency evacuation alarm.
原因はわからないけど、とにかく皆さん逃げてくださいって感じの、そんな内容だったと思う。
I don't know why, but it said, anyway, everyone please escape, or something like that.
マヨは知ってるよね。
Mayo, you heard it, right?
はい。
Yes.
いきなりエレベーターが止まって、中に閉じ込められちゃって。
Suddenly the elevator stopped and I got stuck inside.
そのすぐ後だったかな、警報が聞こえたのは。
So I think it was right after that when I heard the alarm. But she still didn't know why. She was still asking you why there were no people there.
でね、その時救護室には私の他に3人の専属スタッフがいたんだけど、
And then there were 3 other staffers and myself in the infirmary.
その3人は外の様子を見てくるって言って出て行ったきり、待てど暮らせど戻ってこなかったの。
The other 3 said they would go out to check what was going on and never came back. I waited, but nobody returned.
部屋に残されたのは私と君の2人だけ。
The only 2 people left in the room were me and you.
さすがに君1人を置き去りにするわけにはいかなかったし、
I couldn't just abandon Kinder.
それにね、その時私実はあんまり心配してなかったんだ。
And at that point, I wasn't really even that worried.
きっと子供かなんかがいたずらして非常ベルを押しちゃったんだろうって、そのぐらいにしか思ってなかったの。
I figured probably some kid had just gone and pushed the emergency alarm button. That was all I thought was going on.
いくらなんでも子供のいたずらで緊急避難警報は発令されないと思いますけど。
I figured even with a prank, it must be serious for them to send the emergency evacuation warning.
今考えれば確かにそう思うけど、
Now that I mentioned it, I suppose so.
でもその時の私はなんていうか、
And at that time, I was just, I don't know.
この少年のことで頭がいっぱいだったのよ。
I was worried about this kid. You were worried about me?
うん、まあね。
Well, sure.
で、それからどうしたんですか？
Then what happened? Everything that was. Oh, well, everything after that was old news to me. The closing of the watertight doors, the search for the emergency stairs to the floating island, and of course, you also told Sora about how we got washed away by floodwater. After that, you, and Sora did a complete check of Dritte Stock's corridors, but we were met with a dead end, and a dead end, a dead end, a dead end, a dead end, after dead end. The final place we ended up was in front of a small door at the end of a narrow corridor. In the middle was the word Himmel. In the middle, the word Himmel was engraved. What is this?
さあね、こんなとこ私も初めて来たから。
Big question. This is the first time I've been here. Saying that, you took hold of the doorknob. It didn't open. It didn't even budge. Next, you started tapping randomly on the tin key display next to the door. You should have known that it was a waste of energy. The name being so, weird. You should have known. Ha.
これで全滅か。
So this is the end. You punctuated this with a sigh.
全滅って、それじゃあ私たち。
The end, you mean we're stuck in here with no food, no water. Yes.
うん、
Well, plenty of water, but it's seawater, so if you drink it, it's not going to help. Yep.
閉じ込められちゃったみたいね。
It looks like we're locked in. Gong. You weakly kicked the door. Following the sound, we went silent. The atmosphere around us was heavy. Literally. Both you and Sora wore tired expressions, as if they couldn't even be bothered to speak anymore. It was a gloomy silence. Well, in this situation, you would expect that someone would come and try to get them out somehow, using a submarine or something. To try to lighten things up, I said, "Hey, anyway, it doesn't do us any good to just stand around here. We gotta think of something."
方法？
Something? A way to escape.
何か明暗でも？
You have any bright ideas? Well, let's see. How about try to contact the outside? For example, we could try to contact the outside or something.
どうやって？携帯も通じないのに。
How? Cell phones don't even work. Even without a cell phone, Lemur must have other means of communicating, right?
通信手段？
Means of communication?
そっか、制御室ね。
Oh, right, the control room.
なんで今まで気づかなかったんだろう。
Why did I think of this until now? Well, wouldn't you have gone there if you were going through every single nook and cranny trying to find an exit?
あそこに行けば少なくとも浮島にいる誰かとは連絡を取ることができるんだ。
From there, we should at least be able to contact someone on the floating island. Yu's face lit up again. Next, light returned to Sora's eyes as well. But... crash. I don't know what that button was going to lead to. You did a fantastic heel stomp on the console in the control room.
なんでよ、なんで繋がらないわけ？
What is this? Why won't it go through?
どうなってんのよ一体？
What's the matter? Looked like looked like she were going rant. Great localization. No, she was already ranting.
ちょっと待ってくださいよ、ナッケ先輩。
Hey, Naku, wait a second. Hey, what are you going to do with that chair?
もちろん叩きつけるのよ。
Going to smash it into the stupid machine.
こんなポンコツマシン
Going
なん
to
か
destroy it.
ぶっ壊してるぶっ壊してるぶっ壊してやる。
I'm going to destroy it. I mean, smithereens. Absolutely pulverize it.
落ち着いて、とにかく落ち着いてください。
Take it easy. Just calm down.
これが落ち着いていられますかっつーの。
Don't expect me to stay calm in a situation like this.
通信回線が全部アウトってどういうことなの？
How can all the communication lines be down? Because probably Tsumugi took them all down.
電話もメールも非常回線さえもつながらないのよ。
Email too. Even the emergency line won't go through.
こんなことってありえる？
How is this possible?
わけわかんないよ。舐めてるとしか思えない。
I don't get it. Something is wrong here. Still, you don't have to destroy.
うるさい！もうキー！
Shut up. I've had enough. Sora and I restrained you and dragged her outside the control room. It's a sprite, I suppose. Yu's eyes were bloodshot like a rabid dog. Somehow her fantasy-like outfit seemed out of place. Well, if it has come to this, there's nothing else to do. Let's just split up again and look for an exit.
無駄よ。あんだけ散々探し回ったのよ。
It's no use after we've already looked everywhere. But we haven't looked inside the rooms.
そうだよね。
I see.
秘密の抜け道みたいなやつが隠されてる可能性もあるし。
There might be something like a secret hidden passage or something.
そんなのあるわけないでしょ。忍者屋敷じゃないんだからさ。
There's no way, this isn't a ninja house, you know? Anyway, let's just look one more time, alright?
拙者のように閉じ込められてしまったお方がどこぞにおるやもしれぬでござるからな。
Because there might be a helpless maiden trapped somewhere like I was.
ニンニン。
I'm off. With that, the three of us, Sora, you, and I, split up and started searching the complex. We agreed we'd meet again in an hour. We decided to meet in front of the control room. I decided to check Dritte Stock from end to end. You and Sora were probably investigating upstairs. The rest area... I noticed immediately that the scenery was different from the morning. The pond in the middle was covered with a lid, or more a partition of sorts than a lid. In either case, the pond was no longer connected to the ocean. The Lemurian computer that you had talked about might have automatically sealed it off. Fried chicken and sandwich shop. There was still a slight scent of cooked chicken in the air. The second I smelled it, my stomach started to growl. I glanced around. There was no one there, and so I ate the chicken. I thought I might eat, but I didn't want to do anything criminal. I swallowed once and left that area behind. Conference room. There's nothing really out of the ordinary here, but I did pick up on one thing. The room was not flooded with seawater. What about the panel on that right wall towards the back there? That might matter. The elevated entrance had stopped the water. That dark chicken sandwich stand. The fragrance of food was tickling my nose. The control room. This room was spared flooding by its elevated entrance. The chair that you had knocked over was as she had left it. I put it back where it should be, checked the room, and left. That chicken sandwich stand. The smell just quit teasing me. The ruins of Lemuria. If you passed through here just a while before. But to be sure, we did. But to be sure, I peeked in the shadows of the stone pillars and behind buildings, but couldn't find anything resembling a pathway. The chicken sandwich stand. That smell, I couldn't take it anymore. I slyly extended my hand towards the cage, holding the warm chicken sandwiches. And you suddenly appears. The situation called for extreme measures. I kept telling myself that as I munched and swallowed down the sandwich. With that, I had finished checking Dritte Stock. It didn't look like there was any hidden corridors to be found, or anyone trapped here besides the three of us. I wondered how things were above. Maybe it was just like you had said. Maybe there was no more point in looking. It was still before our meeting time, but when I went back to our rendezvous point in front of the control room. And when I got there was a surprising waiting for me. Great localization.
Yeah.
Hey. Okay, so Takeshi meets up with Sora, apparently.
こんにちは。
Huh? Who are you?
おいおい、忘れちまったのか？
What, you forgot us already? Okay, so Takeshi saw him because Takeshi was asking him. No, the kid asked Takeshi if he'd seen his friends. But that was a different version of the kid than this one we're playing as. So the kid doesn't actually know Takeshi yet. What in the world? I felt like I had met him before. I met them before. You had, but then you went back in time after doing so. I was pretty sure of it, but your name is? I couldn't remember it.
いや、自己紹介はまだだったかな。
Nah, I don't think I've introduced myself yet. Right, so he thinks he's seen him before, and also he's introduced him, but yeah.
俺は倉成武史。それとこっちが。
I'm Takeshi Kuranari, and this here is the guy named Takeshi indicated the girl
茜ヶ崎空です。
that flashes. I'm Sora Akanegasaki. Akanegasaki. She gave a slight nod. Takeshi and Sora. I repeated the words. They both nodded. But what are you doing here? Yahoo! Oh, what's going on here?
そんなに驚かなくてもいいでしょ。
You don't have to be surprised, do you?
ついさっきマヨと一緒にツバイトストックを歩いてたらこの3人に出会って。
Just a bit ago, when I was walking around Zweite Stock with Mayo, we bumped into these three. So you're stuck here too, huh?
ええ。
Yes.
そういうこと。
That's right. Oh, wait a sec. Didn't you just say 3 people?
言ったよ。
Yeah.
ほら、あそこにいるでしょ。
See, right over there. It's gonna be Coco, right? I followed the direction of Yu's finger. Nope, it's Tsumugi. Which makes sense because they're with Takeshi. Someone was standing on the opposite end of the wall along the... So if you choose Takeshi's route, I presume you do a similar situation where, a room floods and you escape, but with Takeshi and Tsumugi. I could only make out half of the person's back, but I saw long hair and black clothes, and it left an impression. Because you always gotta have a character with long hair and dark clothes. I gotta have that Haruka or Yuri kind of character. Who's that?
小町さんのことですか？
You mean Tsumugi?
ああ、小町つぐみって言ったかな。
Oh, Tsumugi Kamachi, I think it was. Tsumugi. So that was her name. She wore all black. It didn't sound familiar, but still. I feel like I've met her somewhere before.
お知り合いですか？
Do you know her? No, it's not that. It's probably just in my imagination. Well, she stuffed you into a lemur costume, but you didn't see her when she did that. You just might have heard her voice, which you haven't heard yet in this context, so it doesn't really apply. It's just somehow something.
なんかな、とにかく難しい女の子なんだよ。
Something, anyway, she's pretty tough to get along with.
よくわかんないんだけど、俺らのこと嫌ってるみたいでさ。
I'm not sure why, but it seems like she doesn't like me very much. Doesn't like you? I could feel a slight animosity emanating from Tsumugi's back. She didn't have to say anything, there was a definite atmosphere which made approaching her difficult. Maybe I'll go talk to her. Just as that thought crossed my mind, Tsumugi shot a glance in our direction. She had piercing eyes and an intimidating gaze. With her glare eating into me, I couldn't take even one step forward. There's no way I could talk with her. What's that all about? Why is she so angry? I haven't done anything to make her hate me. Tsumugi's gaze returned to normal. Cold beads of sweat appeared on my forehead. Oh, that reminds me. Where's Sora? I realized she wasn't around. I glanced around the room. Without my noticing it, Sora had come to stand beside me at some point. Yes, worry. Huh? What's wrong? Couldn't help but notice a dark look in her eyes. There was nothing left of the ninja attitude that she had departed with. Did something happen? She knows Tsumugi. They're sisters. You'd expect that. Sora? Sora? Hey?
何？
Huh, what? You alright?
平気だよ、全然。
Sure, fine, great.
どうしてそんなこと聞くの？
Why do you ask? Well, I mean, you looked so depressed.
そんなことないってば。
No, it's not that at all.
ただ、
It's just...
出口見つかんなかったから、ちょっとへこんでただけ。
We didn't find an exit, so I'm feeling kinda down. No, actually, you saw Tsumugi, you had some bad past relationship with her, it's that kind of thing. It's like the beginning of Ever17 where Haruka didn't want to go into the cafe because she recognized her two sisters in there.
うん、それだけ。
Yeah, that's all. Sarah's spirit seemed to lift a little. Seeing her smile made me feel a bit relieved.
ともかくここで立ち話をしていても始まりませんから、
Anyway, just standing around here isn't going to get us anywhere.
この制御室で現在のレミューの状況を調べてみましょう。
Let's see what the situation in Lemurian is right now via the control room. So we finally got the cast together. We finally finished the exposition here. Sora said this and pointed to the control room right across from us. We already finished establishing the situation. We've got our 6 characters. We've got same gender distribution as the Ever17, 2 men, 4 women. Except Ever17 had 5 women. And this one that does too. We have Coco. So yeah, there's going to be a 5th woman here as well. And we've already established that there's no way of getting out. Encouraged by Sora, we all shuffled into the room.
どうソラ、わかりそう？
So Sora, do you understand this?
ええ、そうですね。
Well, let's see. Sora faced the monitor and held up both hands. Instantly, the content of the screen began to change, with the number of windows opening, closing, and searching for data underway. I stared dully at her rapidly moving hands. It looked like Sora was fairly used to handling this computer. For one thing, there weren't any flying chairs or heel stomping. It was completely different from the way you handled things a while ago.
わかりました。
I've learned something. Finally, Sora said this in a matter-of-fact way. Everyone looked in her direction.
皆さん、
どうか落ち着いて聞いてください。
Everyone, please calm down and listen to me.
慌てたり気を落としたりしないでくださいね。
Please don't get hysterical or depressed. Which means that she's going to say this and everyone's going to get hysterical or depressed. Saying this, her face seemed pale. All eyes were glued to her in silence.
これから現在のレミューの状況を表示します。
Report on the current status of Lemur.
まず1階、エルストボーデンは
First, the first floor, Erstboden,
完全に浸水しました。
is completely flooded.
完全に
Completely?
はい。隔壁もすべて下ろされ、通路を通行することはできません。
Yeah, all its partitions have dropped and it isn't possible to get through any of its corridors.
つまり、上に行く道は完全に閉ざされちゃったの？
So what you mean is all of the paths leading up are completely shut off.
そういうことです。
That is correct.
そして、
Furthermore,
これがツバイトシュトックの状況です。
here's the status of Zweite Stock.
上の階、救護室のあるフロアを示しています。
This is the floor above the floor with the infirmary.
こちらはドリットシュトック。
This is Dritte Stock.
点滅しているのが現在地です。
Blinking area is our current location. Well, I don't see it blinking here, but okay. So the areas I guess they show are the ones that are not flooded. So I guess Dritte Stock, it's not continuous, but you can go up to second floor, whatever it was called, and then come back down into them. So you can still might be able to get to all the locations in it via the second floor. Okay.
マジかよ。
You serious?
そんな。
Okay.
レミューの半分近くが水没しちゃってるじゃない。
Half of Lemieux is submerged. What's more than half? Sora nodded somberly with a painful expression on her face.
このフロアのドライエリアは3つの部分に分かれています。
This floor's dry areas are divided into 3 sections. Dry areas?
完全に浸水していないエリア、人の通行が可能な部分のことです。
The areas that have no flooding and that people are able to pass through.
このマップの中心に表示されているのが現在私たちのいる第8区画です。
The central area displayed on this map is where we currently are in Sector 8. Huh? It looks like the map is divided it in 2 areas, so where's the third? Looks like 3 to me.
実はシステムの不備のせいで詳細なマップ表示ができていませんが、
Actually, due to the flaw in the system, we are unable to call up a detailed map.
この第8区画の対角線上にある第4区画も健在なのです。
Sector 4, above the corner of Sector 8, looks fine.
しかし、
However,
そこに行くことはできないの？
there's no way to get there.
はい、不可能です。
Correct, it's impossible. Can't you go up to the second floor and come back down? Why?
2つの区画を結んでいる通路がすべて水没してしまったからです。
All the corridors connecting the sectors have flooded. Well, they're eventually going to get there, I know that, because of the plot.
距離にしておよそ100メートル。
In terms of distance, it is roughly 100 yards.
無呼吸状態で100メートル泳ぎ続けるような能力をお持ちになっている方は、この中にはいらっしゃらないでしょう？
I don't think there's anyone among you that is capable of swimming 100 yards without breathing. Also, the system won't let you in because if you open the doors, it would flood the remaining areas.
ゆえに不可能なのです。
Therefore, I say that it's impossible. I can go 25 yards without taking a breath. I haven't tried 100 though. But I'm a lot bigger since when I did that, so it might be possible.
それにもしも仮に第4区画までたどり着けたとしても、事態が好転するようなことはないと思われます。
Furthermore, if someone did reach Sector 4, I don't think it would improve our situation at all.
第4区画もここと同じなのです。
Section 4 is in the same predicament as here.
浮島へ登るための非常階段はすべて完全浸水しています。
All of the emergency stairs leading up to the floating island have completely flooded.
つまり、行っても無駄ってことだな。
So even if we could make it there, we'd be wasting our time.
そういうことです。
That's correct. Everyone went quiet. For a while, we just stared at the Lemieux map that was floating in the darkness. And then,
ねえ、思ったんだけどさ。
hey, I just thought of something. You opened your mouth silently.
レミューには排水ポンプみたいなやつってついてないの？
Isn't there something like a wastewater pump in Lemieux?
もちろんあります。
Of course there is.
じゃあそれを使って水没したエリアの水を汲み出せば。
So why don't we use that to pump the flood water out of those areas?
それが動かないようなのです。
It appears to be out of order.
どうして？電気はこうやって生きてるのに。
Hi, we've got electricity.
原因はわかりません。
I'm not yet certain of the cause.
エレベーターを含め一部の電子的システムが制御不能に陥っているのです。
Some electrical systems, including the elevators, are malfunctioning.
各区画の配線断線が影響しているのかもしれませんが、
Disconnected wiring in each sector might be affected in the situation, but
ちなみにレミュー内の生体反応をチェックしてみたところ、ここにいる人たち以外に取り残された人はいないことが分かりました。
by the way, a life reading search or bioscan for life inside of Lemieux indicates that the people present are the only people remaining here. What about Coco? The people here. You, Sora, Tsumugi, Takeshi, and I, a total of 6 people.
それから現在の内部圧は1気圧です。
I know there are 7 though, because it says in the opening cutscene there's 7. So there will be a 7th person, and it will be Coco. You're not fooling nobody. Furthermore, the current internal air pressure is 1 atmosphere.
酸素濃度 22%、窒素濃度 75%、ヘリウム濃度 3%、気温24度。
Oxygen concentration 22%, nitrogen 75%, helium concentration 3%, temperature is 75.2 degrees.
当分の間私たちが中で過ごしていく分には問題ないってこと？
You mean this whole thing is contrived so that you can stay here for a while?
申し訳ありません。その通りです。
Yes, that just happens to be the current situation, so we can make the plot happen.
皆さんには今しばらくの間、館内でお待ちいただくことになります。
How do the earbuds come into play? I guess there's still helium. Everyone, we will be forced to wait inside the complex for a while.
今しばらく？いつまでだ？
For a while, how long is that?
救助が来るまでです。
Until help comes.
救援要請はずっと送り続けています。しかし、
I am continually sending out a request for assistance, however.
現在、それが届く保証はありません。
Currently, there is no guarantee that they will reach anyone.
インゼルヌルへの通信線は非常回線も含め、物理的遮断によって使用不能です。
All communication lines to Incel Null, including the emergency ones, have been physically severed and are unusable.
また、海底ケーブルでのネットワーク接続、音波式水中通話、ともに試していますが、
I have also been attempting to make contact via a seafloor cable network using sonar.
通信系の回復のめどはまだ立っていません。
Right now, I cannot estimate when the network will be back online.
つまり、俺たちは水中で迷子。SOS は誰にも聞こえないというわけだ。
So we're like little kids lost smack in the middle of the ocean and nobody can hear our SOS.
はい。
Exactly. The gravity of the situation was descending on us. There was no reason to be upbeat. Takeshi and you let loose with sighs almost simultaneously. Sora and I slumped our shoulders. That remains me. That reminds me, what happened to Tsumugi? She hasn't said anything at all. I looked back. Tsumugi was standing in a corner of the room, glaring at us. Like before, there was an atmosphere around her that seemed impenetrable. Really, why is she so peeved? A little while later,
だけどまあ、落ち込んでてもしょうがないか。
but well, getting depressed isn't going to solve anything, is it?
ここはポジティブに、前向きに考えようよ。
Let's be positive. Let's be positive. Positive is the word. All right, everybody. You broke the silence with her energetic pep talk. But no one responded.
そんな沈み込んだ顔しないでよ。
So now quick looking so depressed.
私たちはさ、何も太平洋のど真ん中を漂流してるわけでも、冬の雪山で遭難したわけでもないんだから。
And with that, the recording will stop. So looks like we finished the situation setup. Finally. 4 hours in. And then we'll actually start the plot. We gotten to the end of the first day, it appears. We're now kind of in the evening of the first day. Although the sun doesn't really... I don't know how the rhythm of night and day works in this artificial facility, so we'll see how it deals with it. Cool. It is an escape, so it is kind of zero escape-like, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to have escape room puzzles in here, like in Zero Escape. I can see how this kind of inspired Zero Escape, though. Like, Ushikoshi wrote this game, and he realized, oh, I can make it like a puzzle. And then Zero Escape is like this, but as a puzzle. Cool. I'm out.